Hello, everyone, and welcome to Compassionate Conversations. I am hosting this with Heidi, Gagne, and my name is Tanys Coughlan. We're from the My Place Home Care, and we're going to be having a series of experts in to speak to us about all sorts of things related to home care. So today we decided we would start with the founder of My Place Home Care, Kumar Saha. So let's bring him in. Welcome, Kumar. How are you today?
Good. How are you?
Good, thanks. So we thought we'd start off with a couple of questions, which
Wow, just not wasting any time. No.
Well, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
No, I'm good. I'll just take questions. I'm fine with questions.
Why don't you tell us what you do overall? Because this is just part of one of your hats that you wear, right?
What do I do overall?
Mm-hmm.
With regards to what? My life or my business or
whatever you feel comfortable sharing.
The home care company.
So I know you've been an entrepreneur for years. So doing all sorts of different stuff before this. This has become a primary focus for you.
Yes. I graduated in 1993 with a master's degree in economics. I spent the better part of 25 years doing economic development work in Indigenous communities. Had nothing to do with home care whatsoever. Mm-hmm. And found myself launching a home care company after watching what happened to my mom.
So tell us a little more about that.
So my mother died in 2014. She suffered from dementia. She had vascular as well as Alzheimer's, so mixed dementia. She had congestive heart failure. She had kidney failure. She had, what else did she have? She had Parkinson's. She also was legally blind and deaf, and she had a rough go. We turned to public health care to help take care of her with some of the activities of daily living. I know I sound like a home care person now, but back then it was helping her take a shower and get ready and all that other good stuff. I kind of watched from a distance, if you will, all of that. And I know they were doing the best they could, but the issue with publicly funded home care, from what I saw, was not sending the same person all the time, different faces regularly. Someone with dementia doesn't recognize people necessarily as the disease progresses. Having different people coming in and saying it's time for your shower, it didn't really work for her. She moved from living on her own to a retirement home where we were hoping things would be better for her. She didn't really participate in a lot of the activities. She just sort of kept to herself and declined there as well. Got to the point where they couldn't take care of her, and she moved into long-term care. And in long-term care, she basically passed away on October 28th, 2014. So from that, I kind of looked around and I said, there has to be a better way for us to be cared for as we age, if you will, right? So I took it upon myself to try and figure out what that would look like. And I explored franchises and everything else. And when I spoke to the franchise people, they were telling me, so my previous life, or my other part of my life, not only is economic development, but also as a business consultant for entrepreneurs. So helping people get their ideas off the ground. And part of that is to help people put together a business plan and find financing and everything else. So when I was speaking with the franchise people and I was telling them what I was doing, they were excited by the fact I was doing a business plan, which actually kind of confused me, because I figured, I'm giving you all this money. Shouldn't you be helping me figure out this business? So they sort of, when I asked them what I was getting for $50,000 and 5 points a month after, they told me I could go on a 1 week marketing training program, and that was pretty much it. And I wasn't terribly impressed by that. So I said, thank you, no thank you. And then I started doing all my research on my own to figure out what the market looked like. And took the better part of a year and a bit to put everything together, put a business plan together, put policies and procedures in place and everything else, and set the company up properly. Kind of came out of the door. I went to a senior show at the end of 2015 just to see what was out there, and we didn't really get off the ground until probably the summer of 2016, give or take. So that's kind of where we started from. It was trying to figure out how to do things better. As one thing I do know is every day I'm going to be older, and one day I may need help. So I want to be part of what that help looks like.
Mm-hmm. So what kind of things do we do differently here? So I'm also a member of the My Place Home Care team, as is Heidi. So maybe you can share, Kumar, what we do a bit differently.
What do we do differently?
Yeah, from some of the other agencies.
So part of putting this company together, I put together a an advisory committee that consisted of a geriatric doctor, an ER nurse, a retired nurse, a palliative care nurse, a PSW with 25 years of experience, and a social worker. And I asked them all, I go, tell me what's wrong with home care. So they helped me learn what was wrong with home care. The best part of all of it is I've known all of them for more than 20 some odd years, right? So the ER nurse is my wife's cousin. The retired nurse is my wife's aunt. The palliative care nurse is my son's godmother. The social worker is a friend of mine through my kid's soccer team. The PSW with 25 years of experience is a family friend who's good friends with my sister-in-law. So these were all people I could turn to and talk to and have true open conversations, right? So they basically told me the problems with home care at that time were a lot of the PSWs that were out there doing home care were stretched, stressed, running from client to client to client to client. So they were saying how, you need to try and figure out how to limit that. So that's when we came up with the idea of 3-hour minimum windows, building relationships with our clients, and getting to learn more about our clients versus running in, changing your pants, putting you in the shower and getting you on your day, and I'll see you later. I don't even know your name, right? So that was part of what makes us different. The other thing that we have done over the years is before the pandemic, we were looking at creating a dementia day program. And we did that because obviously I told you my mother had vascular and Alzheimer's, so she had mixed dementia. Dementia has a very special place in my heart, trying to figure out how to help people with dementia. So we developed our own day program. Problem was, and that was to help alleviate some of the strain on the publicly funded programs that are out there that are being provided to everyone, which are great, but they can only accept so many people at a time, right? Mm-hmm. So it was to help offset some of the stress on the caregivers who are out there taking care of people with dementia in their homes. And the idea was we were going to go first to Abbotsford House and talk to them about working with them and setting up our day program downtown or whatever it was. People that were on the Abbotsford wait list would come and do our day program. Once a spot opened up, they could just seamlessly go into that program and no big deal, right? So it was just a continuous sort of flow to help people out. COVID hit, so that killed that idea. But then what we did was we took it and we have now customized it for every single one of our dementia care clients. And we apply the positive approach to care when it comes to dementia. So we encourage everyone to explore that as well and what that means. Basically, in a nutshell, you focus on what someone can do versus what they cannot do anymore. And you focus on the individual and you try and make their life as positive as possible.
Well, and with place home care, we train them as well, right? Can you talk about
Yep.
that a little
Yep.
bit, please?
We have a PAC certified nurse who trains all of our PSWs. So yes, they go through their own program and they do the gentle persuasive approach and everything else. But what we find is that's one piece of the puzzle. Because we want to be seen as a leader in dementia care, if you will, we continuously train our people in dementia care. And that's kind of what we do for the community.
Mm-hmm. Now, Heidi, I think.
Oh,
sorry, go ahead.
The Positive Approach to Care program was designed by a woman named Tifa Snow. So she is actually quite fabulous. And I strongly suggest anyone to go check out some of her videos on YouTube. And because they're great for if you have a loved one who has dementia, and it just helps you really, makes you think how to think like they are. And living in their world is one of the things she says a lot, which I think is really important when it comes to living with somebody, with a person living with dementia, is live in their world. Mm-hmm. And I think that's one of the main things I got out of the training, because I did take the training as well. It's just as simple as that: live in their world.
And I think those are very, very wise words of wisdom from Tifa Snow.
Mm-hmm.
And it brings back pardon?
They're very powerful words.
Yeah. And you know, I think I've told you guys this story before, where we had a client and we were bringing her from her retirement home to Abbotsford for the day program. And one time, because I was out on the road at that time, it was always me that went to pick her up. And her dementia was getting so bad that when she arrived at the car, she didn't know what the next step would be. Like, I'm at a car, what now? Mm-hmm. So I would actually physically have to get down and say, okay, we're going to lift your left leg and we're going to put that leg in and then ease her into the car, because she didn't know what to do. But then other times she had very clear, lucid conversations with me, where she said one time, she goes, I go, okay, well, I'll drop you off and I'll pick you up at 3:00. She goes, well, how are you going to find me? Because I'll be out in the field. She spoke about her father a lot and mm-hmm. growing up and everything else. And he had passed on, of course. And I said to her, I said, well, you know what? When I pull up to the field, I'll find your dad and I'll ask him where you are. And I'm sure he'll know where you are and I'll pick you up there. So it's a matter of not saying to her, what are you talking about? It was just go with the flow, right? Yeah. And live there. There's no reason why people need to argue with someone with dementia, because it doesn't have to make sense, right? It's where they are. Yeah. And everybody's heard, meet people where they are, right? If you want to get through to someone, meet them where they are. Have a conversation where they are. So that's what we do. You don't try and change anybody.
Our trainer, during the training session, she told a story how she was in a retirement home and there was a lady with dementia, and she was just so agitated, and she kept telling all the PSWs, there's a girl under the chair. Why is she there? Why is she there? What's this girl doing here? Who's her family? Where's her parents? What's going on? And she was so distraught about this child that she saw in the room, and none of the PSWs were responding well. So our trainer came in and she said, where is she sitting? And she pointed her out. She's like, okay, I'm going to go get her. I'm going to take her out and we're going to go find her parents. Will that make you feel like, will that be good? And she's like, yeah. Take care of her. So she went and mimed pulling the child out from under the chair and held her hand and walked out of the room, and the lady was fine. Yep. She was happy. She could go back to her coloring or whatever, because the trainer lived in her world mm-hmm. and helped that person that she saw. So, I mean, it's so simple, it's so basic, and yet we forget.
We complicate things, right?
Yeah.
And not everybody understands the disease itself. Because I'll tell you from my experience with my mother, running my own consulting company, having young kids, everything else, her calling me 6, 7, 8, 9 times a day to tell me the same thing over and over again. And it wasn't registering with me, right? I'm just like, you already told me, I know. And then she'd get mad at me. And then she'd hang up on me. And then she'd call me back. And we did this constantly. And the worst part about it was I wasn't taking the time to meet her where she was. I was just focused on what I had to do for my clients, right? And it's just you need to be able to, and you have to understand, right? Like she was 79 years old when she died. She was not old. And I think I was what 10 years ago. So I was 40 something years old. I wasn't in tune with what was going on. I was focused on my work, my kids, everything else. And yes, I know. Bad human being. You should have paid more attention to your mother. Sure. The day she died, my son and I were driving past St. Patrick's. My son goes, "Well, we should stop in and see grandma today." And I said, "Well, we'll go see her next week." I didn't know she was going to be gone that night. Try living with that guilt. Right? So that one was.
But you've
That was
taken that
tough.
and really turned it into a beautiful project when it comes to that, right? Because that's part of the reason that prompted you to start
She
like
is
healthcare, right?
she is the reason why we started this home care company, right? Like
Mhm.
she's it. So
What a beautiful testament to her.
yeah,
Hmm.
and that's the thing, right? Is she changed from being like my father died when I was 14. So my mom had a 14-year-old and a 16-year-old boy. Woohoo! So lucky. Uh, that's not a handful, is it?
Oh, it's not hard.
But she finished raising us and turning us into the men that we are, right? So I watched that person become a shell of herself in the end. And you know, you gotta I don't know. I just she was very different by the end of it all.
Hmm.
And that's she drove the creation of this company.
Did you find it hard as a son to, I mean, it was hard to watch that happen, but was it hard to get past who she was to who she is now? Who she was at the time, like through the stages of her dementia? Was it hard to
Yeah, it was. It
the
was
changes?
you can't. My uncle showed up one time and we went to visit my mom in the long-term care home and he said to me after, she goes, "Hey Pollo," which is she's not there. He goes, "I have no idea who that is. She's so drugged, it's ridiculous." And she was. Her eyes were vacant. There was no one there. There was a shell of a human being. And to ask me if that was hard to see and watch, yeah.
Hmm.
You I would actually internally get upset and actually angry at medical professionals that would tell me, "Oh, she's so full of life." That is probably the worst thing you can tell someone when they're watching someone that they love basically disappear. I know you're trying to be kind or whatever it is, but it's actually insulting to the person. So, you asked me what makes us different. A lot of home care companies out there are founded by nurses, doctors, others that are in the healthcare profession, right? Funny thing is I'm an economist. What do I know about healthcare? Nothing, except for what I've learned, right? The best thing when people call me and say, this is my situation, I have the opportunity to say, I am not a doctor. I am not a nurse. I am not a social worker. I am you. I am actually you. I lived what you are living now. So I can relate that way to you. And therefore, what makes us different is that everybody knows in the company, knows what that story is. And they know that that's what we are collectively, right? So it comes from, it's not just, hi, I'm Kumar, I'm the owner, this is what I believe, and everyone else is on side or else they're getting fired. No, this is, hi, I'm Kumar, this is my story. Do you want to participate? Right? Because I know without everyone in the company, every single person, without everybody, we have nothing. And PSWs, I've thought about this a lot. PSWs are probably some of the kindest human beings out there, and they get the least amount of recognition in a medical setting, if you will, potentially. Just because they're not a nurse, they're not a doctor, what do they know? Is what I hear from medical people, right?
They know compassion and empathy, or they wouldn't be doing that job.
Thank you. And this is again, right? The creation of this company had a lot to do with compassion and actually caring about who we take care of. To tell me that you can create a relationship with someone in 15 minutes or 45 minutes of going into their home, giving them a shower and saying, okay, I'll see you tomorrow. That's not creating anything, right? Someone said to me one time, they go, man, you started a home care company? I said, yes. They go, you're going to be rich. I go, question. I said to him, I go, question. How do you feel about taking off all your clothes in front of strangers to have a shower? How do you feel about someone that you don't know coming into your house to take care of your loved one? How do you feel, right? Well, I've never thought of it that way. That's the only way to think about this. We are strangers until we start building that relationship. That's all. That's who we are. But let me tell you, I invite you to speak to any one of our clients and talk to them about what their experience has been like with us, right? Even some of our most demanding clients, and I'm not kidding, we're talking people that send me 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 emails in a day, okay? Even our most demanding clients, even when you read some of the things they say, or they're upset about this, that, and the other thing, or they're challenging you on whatever, they have nothing but positive things to say about how we interact with them, right? Sometimes when you get 10 emails, it takes you the better part of a day, honestly, to answer them because you don't want to miss anything that they're asking you or challenging you on. And you do that, right? But that takes time, that takes effort. And we do that. We have and I'll tell you, there's times where you look at the email and you look at the next one and the next one, and the next one, and you say, okay, slow down. I can only do so many things with X amount of emails from each individual client, right? So it takes an effort to do that. But I don't know. You ask them all and they feel like they've been cared for. Even if you complain, we address your issue, right? You should never be silent if you have an issue with anything that we do. And you talk about what's different, or you ask what's different. The other thing that we talk about what's different, truly different, is making sure that we have the right fit between PSW or companion and client, right? We were probably one of the only companies that would go in, do the intake process, and then come back with the PSW in person to introduce that person to the client allow them to converse and see if they think it may be a good fit. Decisions do not need to be made at that moment. If you don't think it's a good fit, like if it's a good fit, people are happy to say it right away, right? But if they're not sure, there's silence. And then everybody go away and the client will reach out and go, I don't think so. Or the PSW will reach out and go, I don't think so. If you do not have a good fit, there is no point in having any sort of relationship even try to be developed, right? So we talk about the differences. Relationship building is huge to us, like huge, right? So that's another key issue that differentiates us from others. And other companies will tell you, yes, we do fit, we make sure. Okay, cool. How come someone's knocking on my door now to talk to me because they weren't happy with something that you did, right? And I'll be the first person to tell you we don't have a good fit, right? Either from the PSW side or the client. So if we don't have a good fit, we don't have a good fit. There's nothing I can do about that. And I will forego the client or the relationship, whatever you want to call it, because we can't meet your needs. And I'll be happy to connect you with another home care company. I won't recommend anybody over anybody else. I'll tell you who's been in the city the longest. I'll tell you everything you want to know about them, because remember, I did my business plan, so I learned all about the 50 other home care companies.
Market research.
Yeah. And we continue to do that today, right? Just to see what everyone's up to. But yeah, I'm happy to help people. And the other thing that we do that I think may be different is when I was looking for help for my mom, you call someone, they told you, we don't do this. You asked, do you know who does this? They would say no, and you'd hang up and you'd have to move on. I have a network that can get you anything from a haircut, and I know I don't need one, to a pair of glasses, which I do need, right? To hospital equipment, to grab bars, to you name it. We can find you what you need, right? Because by the time someone calls us, they're already in a state of being overwhelmed by what's happening with their loved one or with themselves even, right? And I even extend that to people that don't use us. Like if you call me and for whatever reason, let's say we don't have a good fit, okay, cool. Put you in touch with another home care company, you go, you get service, you're happy, okay? That's all I care about. You're doing okay. But don't think that you can't call me back and go, I'm looking for this or that. Can you help me? Yes, we can. And we will. And we will connect you, right? Because what's the point of doing this work if you can't help people? So I'll get off my soapbox. I'm sure there's other questions, but this has just been going.
Well, collaboration is key, right? For all of it. Collaboration is key. So when you're collaborating with other companies, it's a beautiful thing to be able to get people what they need, right?
You know what's funny about that? Is that I came from economic development, where you were putting plans together that are 5, 10, 15 years into the future on how to develop a community, right? All of that needs collaboration, true collaboration between departments, between community members, whatever, right? So I come from that little world into this one. And back when we started, you think we have problems finding PSWs today? We had that problem back in 2014 and even before that, right? So I was going to other home care companies saying, do you know what we should do? Here's an idea. Instead of having a PSW work for one company and just whatever you can get that person is what you can get them, and they need to eat and pay bills and do all that stuff, but maybe you only have 20 hours for them a week. What if I come and I have the other 20 hours for them? Then they're working between two companies. They have X amount of clients. Maybe they have 3 clients or 4 clients, but they fill their 40 hours. Well, now you have a full-time employee split between 2 companies. We can talk about how we want to divvy up the pie, if you will, right? And share profit or whatever it is you want to call it. Everybody I went to said, no, 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 you're going to steal my people. You're going to steal my people. I'm not interested in stealing your people. What I'm interested in being able to do is to be able to provide care to the person who's looking for care. If philosophically we are on the same page, then that tells me that you should have similar people working with you, because we're seeing eye to eye on how things should be. No, 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 you're going to steal my people. You steal my people. I'm like, okay, this was back in 2015 or 16, whatever. Years go by. I finally found a dance partner, if you will. And she goes, okay, I'll try it. I'm game. I said, okay, you can take one of our people and put her to work full time or whatever it is, because she'd been in the business longer than we had. And I said, okay, sure, go do that. And we'll talk about how we're going to structure this after. Because I wanted to show her that I had no intention of taking any of her people, and the same would apply to her, right? Well, we ended up buying her company because she wanted out. So then it took us a little while longer again to try and put this out in the community again. Still no takers, no takers, no taker. Finally, a guy I went to comes back to see me a year or 2 after the fact or whatever it was. He goes, Kumar, I have a great idea. I said, what is it? He goes, okay, you know how there's a shortage of PSWs? He goes, we should share resources. I said to him, I go, brilliant. I'm in. He goes, you're the first and only one that has said that. Everyone else is competition. I'm like, this is the problem. You are in the private sector trying to provide a public service, if you will, right? Yes, you have to survive. Yes, everybody has to eat. Yes, everybody needs a paycheck, et cetera, right? However, because you are being driven by your own company's survival, you may or may not be willing to look at the bigger picture, if you will, right? And then I found a couple others, but I can't play with them anyway, because, the province is making that more difficult for us as time goes on.
Yeah, let's talk about that new
Yeah, I was
legislation.
going to say, let's touch on
Let's
that.
talk about that.
going-
Well,
What's going on? What has the province decided for
What
home care
is this
companies?
about? So we're in Ontario, for those of you that might be watching from elsewhere. We're in Ottawa,
yes.
Ontario.
Let's talk about the province, shall we? The province of Ontario. Oh, I need to back up my story. Way back when, I really thought that this industry needed some regulation. So you have to hear me when I'm saying I'm actually happy with what they're doing today. However, their communication of it is very limited and hidden and poor. Okay. But what the province is doing is they've decided through the Employment Standards Act, and HR will correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, but they have said that the temporary help agencies, which they define as including home care companies, so there's recruiters and there's home care companies under this umbrella, there's agricultural companies. The definition is, if you provide a worker to a client on a temporary basis, which is what we do, right? It's not full-time forever. It's a temporary basis. You need to register yourself with the province. You need to put money into a GIC that cannot be touched for the duration of the existence of your company. And it's no small fee. And then you also are to pay $750 a year in licensing fees. Cool. When I found this out back in October 2023 or whatever, because they had made the announcement in July as sometime, but no home care company, like very few, knew what was going on. And when we found out, after my head exploded about how much money they wanted me to put aside, I said, okay, fine. We did it. My heart stopped beating and I came back to life after, but whatever, it came back. And then I thought about it and I thought to myself, I wonder why they're doing this. And then I started to think about the long-term care, and I started to think about the hospitals, and I started to think about the shortages, and I started to think to myself, interesting, this is why you're doing it. You want to scoop some talent. You are the provincial government, and you say you are the government of small business, but what you've done now is you've made it more difficult for small businesses to provide that public service. I know why you've done it, and that's fine. But remember I said there's like 50 some odd home care companies? Well, on the list that the province has, there's maybe 15 of us on there. So those relationships that I had been building with other companies that were philosophically sharing with me the right way to provide care, they're not on the list. Now I can't do business with them because they're no longer legitimate, according to the province. Still waiting to see how they plan to implement and enforce all of this. But in the interim, who's going to lose?
Yeah.
People that are staying at home, right? That's who's going to lose. So, so you're sitting there trying to fix this hole in the dam with this idea, and then you're going to go put them there, and they're still going to be in demand in long-term care and the hospitals, as well as into the home and community care under the local health integration network. But we're still getting older, and not all of us qualify for the provincially funded stuff or coverage. So now what? If I don't qualify for provincially funded and there's not enough companies out there providing, what are we doing? I mean, yes, I'm happy there's regulations, but you're going to get some serious pushback from a lot of businesses because they're going to scream and yell that you did not do a good enough job informing. And I went looking for news articles and everything else. It was thin, very thin.
Yeah.
But you know who did know? Law offices, lawyers, employment lawyers knew. They were posting all kinds of things on their website. So if you were lucky enough to, as a small business, if you were lucky enough to be represented by a big law firm, then you got the information.
Yeah.
Right? So how many small businesses have lawyers on retainer? Very few.
So
But
we'll have
anyway.
to wait and see how all that plays out, right? Because we're in the middle of the process at the moment. So
yep, we are. And I mean, we can still conduct business as a home care company. We've done everything that they've asked. And from what I've been told by Jacob, there's supposed to be an officer of some sort assigned to us at one point when they get to us. I think there's 2, maybe 3 of the home care companies in Ottawa that have been approved. So it's coming, right? It's coming. It's just a matter of time. But I really do want to see this. I want to see how this is going to be enforced because the fines are pretty steep as well, right? First offense, 15,000, second offense, 25,000, third offense, 50,000. Who's paying that? That's what I want to know. Who's paying that?
Yeah.
And clients, unless they know, they're just going to phone whoever. And those businesses, if they're not aware, they're just going to continue carrying on business because they're not aware.
That's right.
So what's the province doing?
Temporary. It's a very ambiguous.
Yep.
title as to who's included. Like if you're not sure, I mean, not everyone thinks of us as, you think of temporary workers, you think of the summertime people that come and, you know, help in agriculture, like you mentioned. You don't really think of somebody that comes to your mom's house as a temporary worker in that sense. So it is very misleading almost.
But that was why we did as much homework as we did, right? We took the time to read the Employment Standards Act and the sections and make sure who fell under this category. And my favorite is the big players, the St. Eliz, the Bayshore, the CB, all of the ones that have the home and community care element to them do not have to apply for this. However, they're private arms, right? Because some of them have private home care. They have applied to be approved, and they're still waiting for approval, right? So
we're right in the middle of all of this.
They're right in there, right? But it's, you know, it's, people don't know. People have no idea.
There is a link, a website that you can go to for any people looking to see if your current company or people that they're researching. There is a link which we can share after this podcast, where you can enter the name of the company, and it will tell you where they are in the process, or if they're not even in the process yet. So that would be, at this point in time, because everything is so in the midst, would be a great resource for people to just take a look at before really committing. Because again, because the relationship is so important, and you have a caregiver coming in and then suddenly they can no longer come, it's very difficult to explain that to your loved one who needs the help.
Yeah.
Why can't they come see me?
Well, I just want to say a little bit about the temporary worker thing. Because just because we're listed as a temporary worker does not mean they're temporary workers with My Place Home Care.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
Just our employees, permanent employees with us.
Yeah.
They are just temporary with the client, and that's how they classify it. So I just wanted to kind of clarify that a little bit, so that you're not thinking you're just on an on-call list with us. That's not how it works. So
and that's actually another thing that makes us different from some of the other home care companies, right? Some of them just use contractors, and we've made everybody an employee, and we offer benefits.
Yeah.
Right. So again, what makes you different? That makes you different. So it's
well, and I think you brought it up at the beginning. One of the prime differences is client-centric and worker-centric, as opposed to profit-centric, which is what some are out there, right?
Yeah, you also like to think that people get into this business for the right reason, right? Yes. They want to help people. And I remember meeting a fella at a networking event, and he had purchased a franchise, a home care franchise. And because I have a background in economics, I was all excited. I was part of the chamber, and they had an economic development committee. So I figured, oh, goody, I'd do that. And I joined. And this fella was introduced to me because he had some interest in they had approached him to be on the economic development committee. And they said, well, Kumar does home care as well. First words out of his mouth is, hey, it's the competition. I'm like, no, I'm not your competition. I said, there's one of me and there's one of you. That's it.
There's enough clients to go around.
And there's plenty of people that need help. So, and you know, you said collaboration. Yeah. That mindset still does not exist amongst many, many business people. No matter what they say, they talk it, they say it. What do you do to implement it, right? Are you actually truly looking to work with someone else? So I think the best way for us to help people is to make sure we have as many tools in our toolbox as possible, right? And that's why I was saying, from haircuts to glasses to hospital beds to even finding someone who's a physiotherapist that can come into your home, or occupational therapy, right? So say you're waiting for an occupational therapist from the province, but you can't wait anymore, or whatever, they're backed up. Well, can you get an occupational therapist? Yeah, we can get you an occupational therapist, but we'll let you talk to them, right? And there's no kickback in it for me or anything else. There's no profit for me by recommending one over the other. It's, what do you actually need? So here are 3 different names. You choose, right? But I know that these 3 people or these 3 companies share philosophy with me on how to provide care to people. And if they're not doing things to your liking, then come back to me and tell me, and then I can take it up with them as well. Because I'm not going to recommend someone or say work with one of these 3 if I don't believe that they're going to do what's right for you as the client, right? So I can't do that. I can't do it, and I won't do it. So, today, as an example, one of our clients called and emailed and then followed up with a phone call, and we were talking about a situation, and she was describing things to me that didn't make sense to me. So I told her, I said, let me call the owner and let me talk to the owner, because she was getting information from not the owner, right? From others. What I like about our group, everybody's on the same page. Everybody sings from the same songbook. So talking to Tanys, talking to Heidi, talking to Jacob, talking to same thing, same songbook. Everybody knows what everybody else is doing. Nobody sings any different. Here we have 2 people saying 2 different stories that are contradictory, as well as supported by information that makes no sense. That doesn't work with me. So I said to her, I go, let me call the guy who runs the show. Let me have a conversation with him. Let me see if we can fix this, right? And that's that. So there's nothing in it for me, right? There's no, oh, we're going to be hired for more care. No, nothing. Zero. But
It's because you care.
it's because we actually care. We actually care about your overall well-being, right? We have a client who we haven't taken care of for years because we can't find the resources, right? In Renfrew, Arnprior, out there, it's hard for us to find resources. I'm still in constant contact with that family because we talk about how to solve some of the issues that they're facing. I get an email. You got time to talk? Sure. Is there anything in it for me? Nope, not a thing. There's no remuneration for that. There's nothing outside of making sure that they have access to what they need. And then they can turn around and say, yeah, you need to talk to someone about what's going on, or you need something in particular for your family member, call Kumar. He'll help you out. Right? And I will. I have no problem. So there you go. Are we done yet? Is it over?
I think Heidi might have another question for you.
More questions.
I do. Well, I mean, our company is different, and it's a company I am very proud to be a part of and to help develop and build and grow. But so when we interview our potential caregivers, we offer them 3 out of our 6 core values, and they need to define them. And it's a very good way of really seeing, what kind of person they are and as to how they define these core values. So the core values are compassion, integrity, responsibility, quality, accountability, and innovation. So I want to know, Kumar, why those 6? Why those 6 things do they mean?
Why do they mean what they mean to me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like
Why are they important? They're on our website. We use them in our interviews. Why those 6 that are so important?
Compassion, I think, is pretty self-evident through what we've been talking about.
Yes. And the name of our podcast.
And the name of the podcast. And integrity, again, what I just spoke of, what I have been saying, being transparent, being honest with people, saying to them, no, I can't help you. However, this is a solution for you potentially, right? Like, it sounds silly, but it's just in us, in me. And that comes into the company, right? We don't pretend to be anything that we are not, right? And integrity, it doesn't matter who's watching me or what I'm doing. I'm always going to be that way. I don't
We
know
keep an
how
eye
else
on
to
him, don't
be.
we, Heidi?
Pardon?
I said we keep an eye on him, don't we, Heidi?
Well, you keep me in line because, I don't have very strong principles.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. We just really.
Responsibility and accountability go hand in hand, right? Like if I make a mistake, if anyone makes a mistake, and we all make mistakes,
Mhm.
because guess what? We're all human. We take responsibility for our errors. We fix our problems. We fix our mistakes, and that's important. And being accountable for any choices you make, any decision that happens, any interaction that occurs between a PSW and a client, we need to be accountable to the family. We need to be responsible. Like that's, again, those are words that have meaning to me. And, people say they're just words. They're just words. No, words have meaning. And that's what's great about words. Sounds silly, but it's true, right? Quality, we try to provide the best quality care that we can, right? And that's important to people. It doesn't matter. I think, Tanys, we've said this over the years since we've been together since the beginning, is that, under promise, over deliver.
Yeah.
And that is a true sign of quality service, right? When we say we're going to do something, we do it. Right? And that's, again, that's part of integrity, that's part of quality, that's part of responsibility, that's part of compassion, that's what all of it. And the last one is innovation. And when we first set up shop, and we still do this today, is trying to figure out how we can use technology, not only technology, but how we can use technology to be more efficient. But also, we encourage our PSWs and our office staff to come up with ideas on how we can do things better, constantly do things better. And at no point in time will anyone be denied the opportunity to share their view or their way of improving what we do. And just as well as I do, we meet with our PSWs at least twice a year, and we talk to them daily. And if they have ideas on how we can do things better, we always ask them, tell us how we can do things better. Not just between the office and the PSW, but if there's something that they see can be improved with the care that's being provided to their client, then we support that. We've had people with dementia that, yes, we have a day program, but the day program has potential limitations because there's certain things that others bring up that are more enjoyable for that individual. So one, and I know it's not the true definition of quote unquote innovation, but it's an example to me of coming up with something for that person that they actually enjoy doing, right? There's a certain level of innovation that goes into the actual day program itself, but not everybody's going to do the exact same things in the day program. So it's an innovative concept because we've customized it to each and every single human being that we come across when we do care for that person with dementia.
So innovation also means like best practice, right? So we're
Yeah.
always looking
Yeah.
for, if a best practice changes in healthcare, then we're
Yep.
looking at
And
that and how can we
that's
incorporate
part and
that.
parcel.
Mhm.
Right? How do you do things better? How can you be better? How can you learn from others? Right? And anyone who tells me they know everything, well, I thank you very much for being part of my life. I guess we're done. Because I've been married too long to know that I know nothing.
So we only have a few minutes left, Kumar, so I'm going to ask you one more question. So can you tell us about a case that My Place Home Care has had that has really touched your heart? Is there somebody?
While maintaining confidentiality, of course.
Of course.
I've
Of course.
Just so
I
people
will never break confidentiality with
Exactly.
anyone. Well, the one you told me just before us coming live has actually touched my heart, because there's a guy who's roughly my age who is in the process of taking. He's been with us for a few years and on and off. And he's basically leaving the earth potentially this weekend. And that and that individual never lost his sense of humor and always laughing, always having fun, no matter what was happening to his body. And he could not move from the neck down. So I really enjoyed meeting him, talking to him. And I used to go over on a regular basis and we'd talk and just hang out and talk about politics, talk about Scotch, because he's a big Scotch drinker, and talk about wine and things that him and his wife enjoyed doing before he got sick. And right. So all of that. And that one's close to me. And there's another one that we took care of, a couple over the years, and the wife passed before the husband, but the husband had dementia. And just for whatever reason, I just got close to them, right? And I think that's the hardest part about this business. You're asking me about one individual client that touches my heart. I don't think there's one that comes across our group that doesn't impact us one way or another. Nobody is just a name, or nobody's just a number, right? Like everybody, no,
Yeah.
everybody does. And that's, Heidi, you and I went to 2 funerals in one day, right? So, it's, you got to try and figure out how to work through all of that without getting taken over, if you will, by the emotion that's tied to loss.
Well, and I think that
And
we've offered a supportive environment for our workers to,
well, there's that
come
too.
and talk to us, because they go
Yeah.
through, they're on the front lines. And I think that making sure that we're there for them during these times when they lose clients, that's definitely been important. And we've talked about that at our weekly meetings and stuff all the time. How can we be there to support the workers and of course the client families and everything too, through those kind of processes. So, and that's important for us as well.
Yeah. And, when Heidi and I were at that one funeral, one of the caregivers who was very close to that client was there. She had tears in her eyes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you cannot, no matter how hard you try, you cannot just pick one person or couple or whatever that have been sort of close to your heart or touch. Everybody who comes through the door that has dementia just makes me reflect for a moment, right? And if we can make your life just that little bit more enjoyable or fun, or make you laugh, or whatever we can do, I like that part. It's good fun. I wouldn't do it if I wasn't having
Loves
fun.
dancing. We have one caregiver that loves to dance to make
That's
his clients smile. He'll
Yeah.
do what he can to make them, for that short period of time, to have a good moment.
And those are the people that we love to work with, right?
But that's it. Because it's more than just a job.
Mhm.
It is more than just a job. If you want a job, go get a job. If you want to have purpose and enjoy what you do and feel supported, even when you're out on your own in a client's home, you will feel so supported by this company because it's true. And we don't just care about our clients. We don't just care about the bottom line. We care about everybody we actually work with, right?
Mhm.
Because like I said, without our team,
Yeah.
we have nothing. We have a business name. That's it. Ooh, good for you. You have a name. What business do you do? Well, I'm a home care company. How many employees? Well, none right now. Okay, so you have nothing.
Yep, exactly.
So
Exactly.
that's the thing.
Yeah.
So we have some of the best people. We are truly blessed with the people we get to work with. And I hate when people call me boss or whatever, because that's not who I am.
He does. He gets
Right?
mad.
He's very angry.
Well,
I don't like it.
fake
I
mad,
tell
but
them to stop
mad.
stop insulting me. Don't call me names. Because, right? Like it's a real true team is what we have.
Yeah.
And you guys know because you give me heck all the time when I say the wrong thing. And
It
you're
doesn't very often, everyone, just so you know. We just tease them. That's all.
and they're both still here. They
Yeah,
haven't gone
I've
anywhere.
been with you now from almost the beginning, I think. It's
That's what I
been
say.
7 or 8 years.
Since
Only
day
been with
one.
the company for a year and a half, but I've known Kumar personally for 20, so
Yeah.
makes a difference.
This
We
is
have a
what it
close
is.
group.
This
Yeah.
is why I say this is like a family business, right?
Yeah.
So it really is. And the only face we're missing from the management team is Jacob.
Mhm.
But he's also part of the family.
It is.
Indeed.
All right.
Well, I would like to pass on a comment for you from one of our viewers, because I think that you don't get to see this very much. So thank you so much for all you're doing. From
Thank
Annie.
you.
So thank you, Annie.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you for all of you that have watched and joined us today. And please come back again, like and subscribe and all that stuff, so that you will be alerted when we're coming on next. And Heidi and I will be back soon, another time, with more guests all about home care. So thank you so much, everybody. And we're looking forward to seeing you next time. Take care.
Thank you.